Did you know that I have a course called Women Who Lead that will change everything about how you interact with humans? You'll learn how to make things safe, logical, fun, and memorable so that people will listen to you and love you a little bit more than they already do. All you have to do is go to www.aimwithus.com and click on courses, and it will take you to everything you need to know. I hope to see you there.
Welcome to Productive Joy with Dr. Christie, where fun meets action.
Hi, friends. Welcome to Productive Joy. It is a great day to have a great day, and we have a fantastic guest in Shannon today. But before we get started, I need you to follow this podcast. I know I say it every time, but it's because it matters every time. I need you to follow so that you get alerts, so that you know that fabulous humans like Shannon are with us, and you can get really excited about it and share it with others. So do that for me, because today you are in for a treat. So we have Shannon Miller-Lutz with us. Shannon is lots of things. She is a coach and a speaker and a trainer and a dysfunction stopper, which is important. But she's also a Broadway enthusiast, specifically Wicked if she had to pick a favorite, but she likes them all. She is also a cat mom to Batman and Robin, which was harder to say than I needed it to be, but super important to know. Great names. And she's also a mom to AJ, who is a fishing enthusiast and pretty darn good at it. And it's kind of saved him from a lot of things. So today she is our guest on Productive Joy. Shannon, welcome.
Thank you so much. What a great intro. I love it. I sound fantastic.
You are fantastic.
About me.
And now we need to know why we should listen. So can you tell us in like 30 seconds or less why people should really tune in to this particular episode?
Yeah. So like you said, I'm a coach, among other things. And there's a lot of coaches out there. And I've lived a lot of life. So I like to say that as a coach, I'm kind of like your big sister who's going to create a space to love on you and give you encouragement. But I'm also going to call bullshit when you're being stupid.
And everybody needs that, right? Everybody needs to have somebody say, hey, whoa, what you're doing right now isn't working. Like, that's not okay. Oh, my goodness. Okay, so Shannon, how did you get here? Because it takes, like you said, a lot of life to get to the point where you're comfortable enough to say, hey, I think that's complete crap. I don't know what you're doing. So tell us a little bit about your journey. What took you from baby Shannon to now?
Well, I'm turning 60 this year, so that's a lot of years. So I will try and condense that.
You look fantastic, by the way.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Thank you. I work hard at it. So I was born in Chicago, and that's where my family has multi-generations, have been in Chicago. And my parents divorced when I was quite young. My mother remarried and moved us to Nashville when I was 5 years old. So I grew up in Nashville. Being the child of a divorce situation, I would visit the Chicago grandparents in Florida between Christmas and New Year's. That was part of the time with my dad. And so I loved being down in Pompano Beach with my grandparents, Christmas time. I was like, what is this magical place? I loved it. And so growing up, I always wanted to live in Florida. I adored my grandmother. I mean, just think about it in the 60s and 70s. It was a stylish time, when she had this beautiful painted nails and this beautiful tan skin, which I don't have because I had melanoma.
Yeah, we all could protect ourselves.
But I always wanted to live in Florida. And so when I was looking at colleges, I have a music background. I was a vocal performance major in college and a theater minor because that was my thing.
I was going to say, hence the Broadway. It makes sense.
Yeah, that's kind of my thing. So we had a friend who was an actor and a musician in Nashville. And he said, hey, Florida State has a really good music program. You should look into that. And so I auditioned at FSU and I was accepted. And so I started going to college in Tallahassee, which, it got me into Florida, but
it's really Florida light. Like, it's not quite. My daughter graduated from Florida State also, but yeah, that's way up there.
Basically, it's South Georgia. So, it still gets cold, but I was in Florida. And my best friend that I met in school, she was living with her parents. At the time, she went to high school in Daytona Beach. So we got this free place to stay for spring break. Great. So one day, spring break, when I think I was a sophomore, I met a boy and he was from Maryland. So we dated long distance for a year. And then it was kind of like, it's either time to break up or commit. And so I transferred to the University of Maryland, College Park, which is where I graduated eventually. And I lived in Maryland for 34 years. 34 years. So it was just a little detour, just a little detour.
Yep.
But because I had grown up as the child of divorce, when my ex-husband, because I ended up marrying the boy, well, when we divorced, I said, I'm going to stay here. I don't have any family. It was all his family there, but I want our son to have access to both of us. So we co-parented our son, and we have a great co-parenting relationship. We split up back in 98. It's been a while. So we now spend Thanksgiving together.
Oh, wow.
South Carolina. Yeah, the whole family, his current wife and kids and my husband, and we're just all there in a big family. But, eventually when my son moved to South Carolina for school, I thought, okay, here I am in Maryland. I'm not married to the Maryland boy anymore. Maryland wasn't my dream. It's a great school. I love the Chesapeake Bay and Annapolis, and it's just beautiful in the summer. And at the time, I was a real estate agent, and I was a very, very successful real estate agent, selling on average between 45, 50 homes a year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Really busy and really burnt out.
Yeah. Well, and real estate, you don't pick that up and move it. You have your clientele and oh goodness.
Yeah. And I lived there a long time. I worked with people that I had done shows with over the years. That was my thing to me. I was kind of like, working with all my theater friends. But yeah, you cannot just pick it up and move it and take it with you. So when I hit 50, I just was having these existential crises. I was like, what is life? Why am I here? What's happening? And for my 50th birthday, my husband said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, have you met me? Of course, I want to go to New York. That was the great thing about living in the Baltimore area was you could just pop up to New York.
Sure.
Go to New York, and we see 4 shows in 3 days. And the last show that we saw was Hamilton.
Mm.
And it had just transferred to Broadway from the Public Theater. The cast album wasn't out. Nobody really had a full picture of what it was. And my friend, who's a Broadway performer, I told her we were seeing Hamilton, and she said, oh my God, you're going to love it. So I text her at intermission, and I said, why am I so emotional and crying over our founding fathers? What is happening? And it took me a while to figure it out. Why was I so emotional? And it was because every show has a theme. And the theme of Hamilton is legacy.
Yeah.
And that was really resonating while I was having these like big questions about life. So at the time, I had a production coach, which obviously had helped my production because I was selling a lot. And I wanted to have these deep conversations. And he said, you know what, that's not really the kind of coach I am, but we do have a transformational coach you can talk to. And so I talked to the transformational coach, and my eyes were just open. I was like, yes, these are the conversations I want to have about values and purpose and mission and legacy. So I started working with him, and very shortly after that, I decided that I wanted to do what he was doing in my life. I wanted to make that kind of difference for other people, to explore who they are and why are they here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think people really need to understand when you're going through life and you're kind of, rudderless, pay attention to what moves you, whether it's giving you energy or it's moving you to emotion. That is pay attention here. So I quickly decided I wanted to become a coach, and my real estate license is with Keller Williams, and they have an entire coaching division. So I was going to work with them. They said, okay, great. You have to go to one of these 2 coaching schools. They're top coaching schools in the world. And you also have to get your master practitioner certificate of NLP, neuro linguistic programming, which is basically what Tony Robbins does.
Yeah.
Jumped through all those hoops in 2019. I think I only sold 43 homes that year. I spent well over a year and well over 20 grand on my coaching education.
Wow.
At the same time, right as I'm starting in February of 2019, I fall and I shatter my shoulder into 5 pieces.
Oh, no.
So I'm still selling houses. I'm doing coaching schools. I'm flying everywhere for these things. And I can't drive for a month.
Oh, no.
It was 2019 was this massive year of growth for me.
I bet.
But by the end of 2019, we had a plan to move back to Florida. My husband was self-employed at the time, and we moved down here right before the world shut down. And
I was just going to say, and of all the times to come, Florida was very open during all of 2020.
and one of the things that people were struggling with was that their routines were interrupted.
Right.
Well, we didn't have a routine. Everything was new to us. So even just being in our new apartment was exciting because everything was new.
Yeah.
We had a new routine, we had a new living space. Like, we didn't have the mental challenges that a lot of people had during COVID when they all of a sudden couldn't do the things that they were used to doing.
Sure.
We were creating from new. It was great.
That is such a fascinating story. And I feel like I could offshoot like 6 different ways. You said, well, you said lots of things. I love the idea of legacy and the thoughtfulness around what are we leaving behind, right? Like, not what am I doing, but what am I leaving behind? And is it the right thing? Because I think many of us do leave things behind by default and not by design. And you clearly are helping people design what that looks like. But the one that really stuck out was pay attention to what moves you. And you help people do that, right? You help people figure out, one, what moves them, and then what they should do with that information. So tell us about a time that you helped somebody figure that out. Like, give us a real example, obviously with no names, but tell us about a time that you helped somebody figure out what they were supposed to be doing with their lives.
Yeah. I had a coaching client early on. I was still in coaching school, and this was a past real estate client who had become a friend. And we met right as I was getting ready to start this journey. And she also was kind of in this space in her life where she wasn't sure what was going on. And I said, you know what? Here's a great opportunity. Would you be willing to be my coaching client during these classes that I have to take coming up? No charge. She's like, sure, yeah. So at the time, she was in a construction business in the office, but she ran projects, these big projects. It was very male dominated, and she was feeling that they weren't respecting her. They were like treating her more like a secretary when she was more on their level or even above them. And she said, I just want to do something that feeds my soul. And I just feel like I'm just getting beaten down here with all this male energy. So I coached her that year. Probably 6 months or so it took her to kind of come to an awakening. So what she had wanted to do was start her own holistic center and doing Reiki and sound bowls and all that kind of stuff. So we actually, I said, you're getting free coaching. Would you do some sound bowl stuff on me? So it was a kind of fun. I got to practice. But what was really interesting is through the coaching calls, we identified what we call in coaching your inner leader and your ally. So these are parts of us that are there, but maybe not fully developed, but they're qualities that we wish we had more of. So hers was like a goddess, was like this goddess. And she had this picture of her and this energy that she just wanted to bring everywhere that she was. And she started bringing that energy into work. And guess what happened? The men started treating her a little differently. And she even manifested more women coming to work there.
There you go.
So she decided at the end of that, she goes, I thought I wanted to blow up my life. Because some people think, well, do I have to blow my life up like I did? I changed everything. No. So she found a way to bring the energy in that she wanted to embody in her life, into her business. And she still was able to do the Reiki and the sound bowl on the side. She didn't need to like change everything.
That's awesome. Okay. And I would call that productive joy, right? Like creating this space where I'm reading The Happiness Project right now, and I am so validated by everything that it says in there, because my whole thing is if you don't make work fun, people quit. And so what does that actually mean? And what I just heard you say is that our mindset, our approach, our way of thinking can shape what's happening around us. And it's not always that it changes the circumstances. It changes our view of the circumstances, and we start to see the positive. So I have to ask you my favorite question, because you might not have described it exactly the same way. If you had to describe productive joy, how would you describe it?
I think that productive joy is really about embracing who we are at our core that maybe we've forgotten about. So if you think about you as a child, before all these negative thoughts and adulting kind of numbed us out and created a life, like you said, that's not by design. And we're like, we just wake up and we're like, how is this my life? So if you go back to who you were before life really happened and remember what really brought you joy and what would people say about you at that age? Because that's who you truly are.
Yeah.
So getting back in touch with that inner child, not to be silly and goofy unless that's who you are at your core, but just to remember who you are, this perfect little, in one of my trainings, positive intelligence, which is a saboteur training, who you are, they call it the sage. It's your true self before all those negative saboteurs got a hold of you. This beautiful being who just shines and is authentic.
Well, okay. So this morning I actually had the opportunity, and I know this is that we're recording this before it's going to air, so it's going to be summertime. However, I was in my daughter's kindergarten classroom. She's a kindergarten teacher, and she has 19 littles in that room. And I had the opportunity, because it was her birthday, to have all the kids sign the card, and watching them come at that in their own way was such a neat experience. And I'm relating this back to what you just said about that core, who I am and how I show up. There were kids that just put their name. There were kids that drew an elaborate picture and everything was labeled. There were kids that attempted to string together, Miss McMullen, you're the best teacher in the whole big wide world. And everything in between, right? And then I watched those same kids go to the carpet and do what they're supposed to do there. And in a kindergarten class is kind of that last moment where they are genuinely just free to be who they're supposed to be, because all of a sudden we start dictating who they're supposed to be and what they're supposed to be and what they're supposed to think and all that kind of stuff. And so I got to witness that today in such a beautiful way. And so I'm glad that you help people get back to that child that would choose to draw a picture over writing a bunch of words, because that's who they are at their core. And I think that's just a really cool, I'm having a moment of, I watched 19 humans do that today, and I will be around a lot of people later, and I don't know that any of them will be showing up fully as themselves. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. And one way that we do this is I have a group of childhood pictures right here. And so in the positive intelligence program, they ask you to find a childhood picture where it really just shows you as who you are. And my favorite one, because these are all like, I'm funny, I'm sensitive, I'm, don't care, but there's this one here. So this one here is me, and I guess I'm maybe two, right?
Okay.
My parents together. And my mother's like, where's Shannon? And I'm in a toy closet, sitting on bongos. This is 1960, I don't know, 7. And the little girl, like little pink comb and
Yes.
the mirror that oil.
Yes.
Right? Like you can't see anything. I'm in there just preening, and I have barely any hair. I'm super blonde hair.
But you're fixing that hair, girl.
Yeah, I am preening like crazy, right?
Oh.
And so in positive intelligence, we would look at our childhood picture and we would say, I'm sensitive, I'm loving, right? And just remember who you are. This is where I got my family nickname, Stella the Star. And the great thing is I'm like this with my arm that broke. And picture, and I say to this arm, you have no idea how strong you are. And go through. And I just love this little girl so much. I just love her. She's so worthy of everything in life.
Yeah.
And struggling with figuring out, like, find a childhood picture that just screams you and just love on that little one.
That is such a beautiful exercise. Thank you for that, because we would never look at our own children and think, oh, I don't, like we look at a childhood picture of them and think, nah, I don't need to take care of them. That natural instinct as a mother kicks in. But we do that all the time with ourselves. We look in the mirror and we think, oh, I don't like this, and this is not good enough, and I wish I had more of that or less of that or whatever. But when we go back to that that childhood self. I think there's something very beautiful that can happen there. Thank you for that reminder. I'm going to go look for a picture. I don't even know where my childhood pictures are, but I need to find this. I know there are lots of them because my mother was a prolific picture taker. That is for sure. She took 163 pictures of my senior prom and had them developed in an album by the after prom. Because I'm old and we had to print them out at that point. So yeah, I need to find that for sure. Thank you for that. That's pretty great. So Shannon, how would somebody find you? Because I'm going to guess that there are people listening thinking, I need more of that positivity. I need more of that understanding of myself. So how might somebody find you?
There's so many ways to find me. You can find me most of all on my website, smlcoaching.com. So that's just my initials, SML. And the people that I coach kind of fall into two baskets. So because of my background in real estate, you'll see on the homepage, if you're a realtor, click this button to find out more about working with me to help you either grow your business or get out of your own way. And the other group that I'm really passionate about is women like you and I who are of a certain age, who maybe have woken up and said, how is this my life? They're empty nesters. They're like, what do I do now? Or maybe by my life, they're like, what do I do in my career that really brings me joy? So there's another part on my website on the main page where it's, if you're a woman, click here. I have a private Facebook group for my strong-minded ladies. That's what I call my ladies group.
Love it.
They're in and I do little memes. Sometimes I'll do a video. I had a long post just a couple of days ago about death. I'm so excited. But it was because I'd had a photo shoot recently in honor of turning 60, and they were just beautiful. And I put this picture because I said, this is the one I've decided I want when I die to be published. Because I look like a 1940s movie star. It's gorgeous. But, people are like, what? Why are you picking that now? Well, because
what's going to happen? Okay.
And post about death, and people are like, yes, we don't deal with it. We don't talk about it. So it's a great safe space for women to talk about things that they're going through. And so, again, I'm on Facebook. You can find me SML Coaching, just my name, Shannon Miller-Lutz. The women's group is private, so I would need to invite you into that. But also on Instagram, SML Coaching, LinkedIn.
Yeah. Okay.
Media, pretty much.
Well, I hope people will find you for many reasons. Biggest one being we all need a little bit more of what you have, which is that ability to see ourselves the way we're meant to be seen instead of the way that we've chosen to see ourselves in the current state. So thank you for creating that kind of space for people where they can be the best versions of themselves and grow into that instead of running from it. Because I think, especially us ladies, we get to the point where we're taking care of everybody but us, and we need to start taking care of ourselves for sure.
Yeah, and we get to a point where we're just empty. We're empty, and so we feel that, and that's maybe what I was going through with my existential crisis at 50. Was I was like, I'm taking care of everybody else, and what about me?
Yeah,
you're hitting that at 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 or beyond. I think all women go through that kind of awakening where they're like, it's my turn.
Yeah.
It's my turn.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can't pour from an empty cup. So what are we doing to fill our own cups? Definitely. Oh, power in those words, my friend. Well, Shannon, it is so important that we ask you your rapid fire questions. Are you excited?
I'm excited and nervous. Let's go.
No, there are no wrong answers. So it's a beautiful thing. And I just want to know what your gut reaction is. Are you ready?
Okay. Right.
What is your definition of fun?
Fun for me is laughing. Laughing to the point of like you can't catch your breath. And my husband thankfully makes me laugh every day.
Oh, good man. Good man. Mine does too. Okay. How do you know that you are showing up as your authentic self?
Ooh, I start crying.
Fair.
I'm a sad.
You know what? I get it. And that's probably why you were crying in Hamilton, right? Like it was showing you a peek behind your own curtain that you didn't even know you needed to see. That's powerful. How do you channel your best self on your worst days?
Ooh, I love on this little one.
Oh,
I'm on this, and I embrace every wrinkle and every, I earn it all.
Yeah, we did.
Gratitude for all the shit I've been through, honestly.
Yeah. You know what? And I I so appreciate looking at it that way because I think, as the wrinkles come and the things and and I look in the mirror and go, why is that there? That didn't used to be there. I don't always look at it as a badge of honor. I look at it as a flaw, and it isn't. You're so right. This is what's made us who we are. And so listeners, if you're hearing this and you looked in the mirror this morning and you thought, I don't like that. Think about what you did like, right? Shift your focus because what you choose to focus on is what you're going to see, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Look in your eyes in the mirror. Like, don't look at all the stuff. Like, look in your eyes and really look at your inner self and love on that person.
Mm.
The outer is just, that's what it is. But the
Just
inner,
packaging.
yeah.
Beautiful. Okay. Last question. Won't be an easy one. People, by nature, their brains can only hold on to one major idea in a 30-minute time span. And so, if you had to pick one major thing that you really want people to walk away with today, what would that one thing be?
Love.
Mm.
Love, love, love. Everything that I've read about people at the end of their life, that's the only thing that matters. The only thing that matters. Love. How you make people feel, how you feel about yourself. It's not, selling 50 houses a year. It's not being stressed out. It's not the money. It's not the stuff. It's love.
Mm. Mm. So well said, Shannon. Thank you for leaving us with that. And y'all, you tune into this because you want a little more productive joy. And I think Shannon did a beautiful job of walking us through that today and reminding us that love really is the thing that will motivate us to take care of ourselves, to take care of the people around us, and to stop getting in our own way. So if you are listening right now, I am hopeful that you walked away with a couple nuggets of wisdom. Shannon, I know you could have been doing a lot of other things with this time, but you chose to spend it with us. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. It's been a productive joy for me.
Yay. All right, listeners, you know how I'm going to end this because it's so important to me. I need you to go out, find something that you can hold on to, and then figure out a way to turn fun into action.